Hello, and welcome to Barre Chords. Barre chords are hard. Barre chords are easy. Barre chords are everywhere. They are used in everything all the time, and I'm going to teach them to you. We have this many barre chords to go over. We go over all of them one at a time, starting with this one, ending with this one. So, hopefully you're ready to play some guitar, because if you're not, I don't know why you're here. Maybe you just enjoy watching stuff. Who knows? Who cares? I don't. Let's go ahead and get started. On to barre chords. Okay, so barre chords. Let's start with the most basic part of a barre chord, the bar. Every barre chord starts out this way, be it 5, 6, 4 strings, etc. However many strings you're barring, you are having to bar them to begin the chord. So we're going to start with our first finger. First finger's job right now is just to lay across 6 strings. We're going to start with 6-string barre chords. So when you lay across the 6 strings, the first instinct you're going to have is to lay it flat. Don't do that. It's dumb. The reason it's dumb is your finger here, if I can find it, there we are, has these little ridges in it. See these? Kind of. So the ridges will prevent the strings from making full contact with the fret. The strings can fly underneath them. By fly, I mean they just slide underneath those little ridges, leading to stuff like that. If you take your finger, instead of laying it flat, you kind of rotate up. So your pinky moves up, and you're using your first finger as kind of an axis to rotate off of. And you kind of curve it a little bit. You get a much more manageable type of pressure, because you don't have to press super hard. You're going to want to at first to get used to it, but you don't have to press that hard to get that result. And that's what you want to shoot for before you move on to the next couple steps. So, one more time, you take your first finger, you lay it across all 6 strings, you rotate gently with your pinky moving up and your first finger being your rotation point. And you curve it slightly so that when you press down on your fretboard, you're matching the curvature of your fretboard. And then you want to strum through and make sure you're getting all 6 strings to ring out before you move on. The first chords we're going over are going to be the 6-string major and minor chords. And from there, I'm going to show you the 7s of each one of them, because they're not really a big change from that. The first is major. Once your first finger is laid down, you can start applying other fingers. Now, the cool thing about these, just a quick note, these are all movable shapes. No matter where you play them, they're always going to be the type of chord that I say they are. So a major chord is a major chord, whether it's played here, 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 etc. No matter where you play it, it's always a major chord. Same thing goes with the minor, same thing goes with all the 7th chords. Regardless of which position you decide to play it in, it will always be that type of chord. That makes them really useful for songwriting. It lets you get a lot of stuff in a lot of different places that you otherwise wouldn't be able to play. That's why they're so important. So, once your first finger is laid down and you have all of your 6 strings nice and pressed, I guess, we're going to start applying other fingers. We're going to start with the ring finger. Finger number 3 is going to tuck in right here on the 5th fret. We're going to go off the 3rd fret, by the way. This is all in the key of G for now. So we're going to start with our first finger across the 3rd fret. Then we're going to take our ring finger. We're going to take our ring finger and we're going to plop it here in the 5th fret of the A string. And then we're going to take our pinky finger and we're going to plop it here in the 5th fret of the D string. And then our middle finger is going to come in here on the 4th fret of the G string. So this shape right here is the major chord. This is your 6-string major chord. So once you got that, take your pick, and same as all the rest of the chords we've played so far, strum on through it. And that's it. That's your major chord. Now, at first, you might get something that sounds a little bit more like this. Specifically, these top 2 strings doing their thing. To fix that, what you're going to have to learn how to do is press with the back of your finger here. Also, see these lines? These sweet little lines? Back up. Those are normal. You're going to have those a lot. Don't worry too much if they hurt, because they're gonna. When you're pressing down with the back of your finger, it's sort of like squeezing, like, let me get this angle right. There we go. It's like squeezing with this part of your finger here. So you squeeze with the tip. You already know how to squeeze with the tip of your finger. So this is like squeezing with the whole finger. Kind of like rolling it down. So you roll it down to press. And you get that. If you don't press too hard with your back of your finger, you end up with that instead. So moving forward, again, this is our major chord. No matter where we play it. All even way up here where you can't see. So onto the minor chord. We're going to stay in the same spot here, and we're going to go right back to this shape. The next step to this is very, 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 very simple. So simple, in fact, that I don't think you're going to believe me when I show you. Ready? Take your middle finger off. That's it. Minor chord. Very common in the beginning for this one to have some problems. The G string will likely not ring out. Just adjust your hand, small adjustments, until it does work. You want to apply a little bit of pressure at a time. Big changes in guitar don't go over well. You want to make tiny changes here and there so that you can make sure you're doing it right. So those are our 6-string major and minor chords. Let's talk about the 7ths for each one of those before I move on to the 5s. So going back to our first shape here, let's talk about how to do a 7th version of this. We've already experienced the 7th versions of pretty much every other open chord. So these ones aren't too bad comparatively, but we're going to go ahead and go through it. So right now, this is our major shape. Next, we have to rotate. So our middle finger gets to stay put. Our pinky finger is going to move up 1 string to the 5th fret of the A. And our ring finger is going to come back 1 fret and down a string. And this is a major 7 chord. Not too bad. So from there, we'll do the minor 7th chord. Again, going back to the major, we lift our middle finger up to get to our minor, and then we lift our pinky finger up to get to our minor 7. So all we're left is our first finger barring all 6, and our ring finger pressing down on the 5th fret of the A string. In these cases, the ring finger is cool. I like to put my pinky finger in here. I feel like I can get more pressure out of it. You do whatever works best for you. So try a few things out and see what you like. On to the dominant chord now. Last one for the 6 strings. We're going to go into the major shape again. And this time we have a very simple change to make. Instead of lifting our middle finger, we're going to lift our pinky finger. And that's it. And there's that bluesy sound that we learned about in the 7th chord video. Bam! That's it for the 6-string bar chords for now. On to the 5-string bar chords. So for the 5-string bar chords, we're going to start off with the exact same shape we started with up here, but it's going to be a little bit different this time in terms of what it's going to be. So if you take everything from the 6-string major bar chord that we did, you slide everything down 1 string. Once you've landed here on this set of strings, you'll notice that my first finger is lightly touching the thickest string. That is to keep it muted, because you're going to hit it, and you don't want it to do stuff. You want it to sound dead so that every other note can overpower that clicking sound. Hopefully that makes sense. So once you're here, and you've got this, we've taken our ring finger, moved it down 1 string. We've taken our pinky finger, moved it down 1 string. And our middle finger has also moved it down 1 string. So, whereas for a 6-string, this is a major shape. For a 5-string, this is a minor shape. All the same rules apply as before. Now we're in a different key now. This is in C. The 3rd fret of the A string is a C. So this is a C minor chord. Move it up 2 frets, it's a D minor. But that's a subject for another video as well. So now on to the major. There's 2 ways to play the major. Neither one of them are particularly comfortable. So let's hope I can actually do the one, because I always mess it up. So when you're going into this shape, you start off the same way. You're barring 5 strings, hence the name 5-string blank chord. Now for one of the 2 majors, what you can do is use your ring finger to bar these 3 strings, your D, G, and B strings. So what that'll end up looking like is kind of a painful little pop-up there, and then you just... See what I mean? There it is. That's one way to play it. Typically speaking, when I teach this chord, I don't care about this note up here. And I'd encourage you, if you're just trying to play something, to also not care about that note at first. Eventually, obviously, you should be able to play it with, you know, with that note involved. But for the most part, it's just a redundant note. It's just this note again. And whereas it does give you a nice sparkly tone on the top end, it's not all that important, if I'm being honest. So, what it usually sounds like without that then is this. And then you get a nice little mute at the top there. That gets the point across just fine. Practice it however you'd like. I would recommend trying to get the note, but you decide in the end. It's your life. You decide what you do. The next one would be a bit more cramped, but all in all easier to get all of the notes to ring out if that's what you want to do. So if you're barring with your first finger still, and you are because that's how this works, you're going to take your middle finger, you're going to go to the 5th fret, in this case, of the D string. The ring finger is going to go to the 5th fret of the G, and your pinky finger will go to the 5th fret of the B. Now this is movable depending on where you are. So this, as long as the distance between your first finger here and these fingers is the exact same, so there's 1 fret in between them, it doesn't matter where you put them, it'll still be a major bar chord. So now we have that. We have a 5-string major bar chord played a little bit differently. So now on to the 7th versions of all of these. For the minor, the one we started with, we're going to do the same shape, and we're going to take our pinky and lift it off. This is probably one of my favorite chord shapes of all time. It's super versatile, and you can play an unbelievably large amount of stuff with it. It's really quite something. So you start with that, and that's your minor 7th chord. We're getting to the major 7th. So the transition from this one to the major 7 is really, really easy. You leave your 1st and 3rd fingers alone, take your middle finger, move it up 1 string, and put your pinky finger here in the 5th fret of the B string. And then you strum on through. You have a really pretty major 7 bar chord. Typically when I have students that are having a hard time with the regular major, I just tell them to play the major 7. It's applicable in most places that the regular major chords are minus like 1 or 2, which we'll cover in the next chord. So from this shape, we have 1 chord left, the dominant 7. To get to the dominant 7 from here, all you have to do is lift your middle finger. Notice how I wasn't pressing hard enough? So that note was dead. There we go. So that is all of the bar chords that you need to know to get rolling on bar chords. I'll keep a link for these in the description below so that you have chord charts for all of them. If you have any questions, as always, leave a comment in the video and I will get back to you. Please enjoy my cat in the background doing whatever cats do. And I will see you in the next video.